All right, we can hop into it. So welcome everybody to another Coffee with Jimmy and John, and this one is for November. So let's hop in here. So what we'll do today, we have some introductions. We'll go over the topics that we're covering today, the topics, what the feature is, why it's helpful, and how to use it inside of InspectPoint. Jimmy and John will have a conversation about it, and any questions that people have. There is a Q&A section on the Zoom panel. You can go ahead and put any questions in there. We will go through, and if the questions, if they flow into the conversation, I'll bring them up at that time. We might also have some time for a designated Q&A at the end. So put your questions in there, and we'll go through them. This is being recorded as well, so folks will get a copy. And then also you'll see this last little arrow here says review us. We do have a link I will put in the chat. That link, if you feel so inclined, feel free to review us at InspectPoint here. I will have a QR code at the end as well, which you can also scan to open that. But I'll put the link inside of the chat right now. So or I'll do that in a couple of minutes here. So the introductions. We have, of course, the men of the hour. We have John and Jimmy. They've both been with us for quite some time. They're quite knowledgeable folks here. And then my name is Brittany, and I am emceeing the event. So let's go ahead and review today's topics. So today's topics, we will be covering an inspection series shift, which I am quite excited about. There is some enhancements to barcode and scanning, and then also some improvements to reviewing the deficiencies. So without further ado, the first topic here is inspection series shift. So I am going to go ahead and kick it off and hand it off to you, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm really excited about this new added functionality to the product. I can say that this is one of those that I wish that this was a product enhancement when I was a customer, because I feel your pain. And so the main thing is that now you're able to shift if you have an inspection series, and let's say you have a technician who calls out sick, so the technician can't get to the inspection, so you have to reschedule it. And maybe this inspection is due in November, but the next time you can get that tech back out to that particular building, the next time that customer is available and that your tech is available is December or January. Well, before, in order to move the months of the inspections in the series, you had to cancel the series and recreate and create a brand new series for the desired months. And this, there are so many, having worked in the industry, there are so many different reasons why inspections can't be done in the month that they're supposed to be done, whether it's because the customer isn't ready for you, and so you get on site and the customer says, oh, can't do it today, so you got to reschedule, and you can't reschedule it until both the customer and you have an availability, or maybe the building is under renovation, and so you can't do the inspection for whatever reason. This happens, and I remember at Hampshire Fire working and having to move series on a regular basis. And so, and there are some of the inspections, as we all know, some inspections are kind of complex. And so when you set up the inspection series, you may have to add, if you have a quarterly inspection series, you may have to remove all, the fire pump from all the quarterly instances of the inspection. And then you have to remove all the backflows for all of the quarterly instances of the inspection, and maybe the fire alarm is only done once a year, the sprinkler is done 4 times a year. And so you have to make all these edits to the inspection series. And so when you have to cancel a series just to move it 1 or 2 or 3 months, to adjust the months just by 1 or 2 or 3 months, you have to, having to cancel it out and start all over again and re-add all of the edits and make all the edits to that series so that it is set just the way you want, is time consuming. And so now, to solve that, we have created this new functionality where you can just move the series by 1 month. You see there move forward by, if you put it 1 month or 2 month or 3 months, that's going to shift the whole series over that number of months. So that way you don't have to cancel the series and then set up a brand new one in its place and then make all the edits to that inspection series. This is going to be a huge time saver. In fact, I think that when I was a customer, I wrote into support about this and said, is there a way, this was back in like 2020, is there a way to move the months on the series without having to cancel it and set up a new one? And so when product and engineering stepped in and put this, created this, new functionality, I was like all excited because this was one of the major things when I came on board as an employee. This was one of the major things that I came in saying, it would be great if we could solve this for our customers. So I know, because I've been in your shoes, I know that this is going to save you a lot of time and also a headache. So, I'll kick it from here to John, and he can kind of walk through exactly how this works. And so yeah, John.
Well, actually, it's kind of Brittany was kind of just showing it there, Jimmy, and to kind of piggyback on what you said there. When we did these updates, and just to kind of show that our goal is to always listen to the customers, listen to the feedback, and we do bring it back to the product team and work with engineering and, see where the value is in this. And I know when we release this internally to, we talked to Brittany, talked to Jimmy, and was like, hey, this is one of these improvements that we just released. And the joy on just these guys' faces let us know that, okay, this is going to be a big hit with the customers. It's actually one of the reasons that we chose it as a topic for this particular episode, is because we wanted to, get it out there that there is now right at the top left of the screen, as Brittany showed there. It's kind of, you may not have noticed it yet. And, we kind of do this aspect of the show to point it out and say, hey, it's there. And it is actually a huge change. Again, to me, it was like, oh, we did this and we just want to let you guys know, like, oh, that's done. Oh, that's awesome. The customers are going to love this. So that kind of shows like the little things and little improvements, or they might be little to, some people, but this is a game changer for a lot. So moving that forward like that, and, taking away, like you said, the time and the effort of having to go through now, cancel this, edit these, as opposed to just now your top left, when you click there and just, you can decide exactly how far you want to move it. It lets you know, these ones in certain statuses, we have all the information there. So you know what to expect really when you do make this decision. And, we just want to get it out there that this is released, it's in production. So if you just have any issues with that, what you were previously doing, this right here should be the new workflow. And any questions, obviously, just write into CS. As Jimmy mentioned, he had done numerous times, before he actually started working at Inspect Bay, talking about this exact feature. So we're just really thrilled to get it out there. And I said, when you see it internally before we actually put it into production, just the reaction that, it got, that this is going to be a real big game changer and really help the customers. It was, it was very fulfilling to hear. And then, to get it out there now to let everybody know, hey, this can be done. This is your workflow. I think it's really the purpose of why we do this. And again, we always harp on it. And we're going to kind of do it throughout this episode too. what we're trying to do is really make things efficient and accurate. And this right there can save any mistakes that may happen when you have to cancel and remake them. It's just a simple shift, however you choose to do it. And it's just, a couple clicks away. Again, just trying to get that out there, make it the speed of and the use of the product a lot easier, and make generally the customer's job a lot easier. And basically that's our whole goal. So I think this, like I said, through your guys' reactions, that this definitely, hammered that home.
Yeah, I can't really think of a customer that this isn't going to help, because I
That's
mean,
great to hear.
virtually all of our customers now use inspection series. So there may be a handful that don't, but virtually all of them use inspection series. And if you use inspection series and you have run into the issue where you have to adjust it by a month or 2 months, or sometimes 6 months, 7 months, it does happen on a regular basis. So
Yeah, I would like to jump in here from an onboarding perspective. This comes up all of the time. I know, I mean, and Jimmy, you can probably speak to this, but if you're just getting started with Inspect Point and you're just getting your data in and your inspections loaded inside of Inspect Point, you might, think it's going to happen in November, but like you said, things happen. It might not happen in November. So it would come up when somebody started to ask me the question, I knew what they were going to ask before they even, got 3 words out of the sentence. But now, instead of canceling and creating a new one, it's super simple to shift. So we actually had a couple of questions that go with this. We had 2 about being able to move it backwards, which I never considered. So I would just answer that here, that right now it's only moving it forward, but we will bring that up to the product team about being able to shift it backward. I'm not sure.
yeah, and John, maybe John would be able to say, you could move it forward by 12 months.
You can move it forward by X amount of months. Yep. So
Yeah,
whatever.
so that would in effect be the equivalent of moving it backwards.
Okay, I see you there. Somebody also, there were a couple of questions here. Let's see. Will all of the series cluster on the first of the month? I guess I probably could have saved that towards the end, but since we are just talking about inspection series, I can just speak really quickly to this, that when you create the series, the inspections, they default to the first of whatever month you said that they were on. Now, I guess that's something I'm curious about. If you already have it let's say you have an inspection on December 5th and then you shift it a month, is it then scheduled on January 5th or January 1st? That's a great question.
So they'll all keep the same, the actual dates that they had it on.
Okay.
So-
All right. Anything else to add? Oh, actually, so here's another question. Sorry, I missed this one. They asked about moving so does this move all the assigned? For example, do you have to move the quarterly series separate from the annual series?
So this will be the series that's just on the actual series itself. Yep. So it's just the screen exists. It's at the top of the screen on the left there. So it's the series itself will just be moving forward. Yep.
So if
Yeah,
your
so if you
oh, sorry, Jimmy.
no, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, if your series has multiple frequencies, you only have to move the one. You're moving the entire series. Now, if you have separate series, then you have to move separate.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You just said it much clearer.
Oh, thank you.
Eloquently, so to speak, Brandon.
All right, let me just take a look at some of these questions here. Okay, let's see 1 second. So somebody asked, does it need to be a series? If it was not originally set up as a series, can you still move the inspection?
Yeah, so the way that individual inspections work, you only you can go into the date of the inspection just by clicking edit inspection. the thing with the series is that, you with an individual one-time inspection, you don't have to cancel it and create a new one. You can always just go into that individual inspection and move it forward. The thing that made this needed for inspection series is that in an inspection series, you're not just dealing with one inspection, you're dealing with, if you have a monthly, you're dealing with potentially dozens upon dozens of inspections where you'd have to go into each one and move the date forward. So this is only for series, it's not for individual, but for an individual one-time inspection, you only have to go into one page, the edit inspection page, and then just move that date forward or backward.
And to that point too, if you wanted to video. It's fine. To that point, if you wanted to move like multiple individual inspections and change like the schedule date, for example, that can be done right on the inspection listing screen.
Good point.
There's the option to, maybe if you wanted to move 4 individual separate inspections, so to speak, and you can actually click on the checkboxes there, and then you can click update, and you can select as many as you want. You can select all, and you'll have a modal that pops up, and you'll be able to change basically anything. There's certain things you can change on there. The technician that's assigned, you can unassign it or reassign it. You can use a schedule date, and you can actually change the status of those individual inspections right from the inspection listing screen. So that gives you the ability to actually change multiple individual ones or just one from the inspection listing screen itself. And as Jimmy mentioned, if you wanted to do just the single inspection itself, it can be done right on the inspection detail screen there. You can edit that from the individual, and it would change the schedule date and any other pertinent information you wanted to change. So there are ways to go about it for multiple individual inspections, etc.
Yeah. So I am going to hop over to the next topic. There are some other questions, but barring time, we'll be able to circle back to those at the end. And then if not, someone will reach out with your information here. So the next topic for today, barcode and scanning enhancements. And John, I'm going to have you kick this one off. I do have just a video that shows what they mean, but John, go ahead and take it away for us.
So here's another thing on the iOS side. Again, we mentioned in the past episodes that we've taken a lot of feedback as to how we can improve the iPad and certain features there. We've gone over the bulk inspect, and this is kind of something along the same ideology, is that, again, in Inspect Point, we harp on it. We do want to make the technician's job easier and make it more efficient and basically faster, right? We understand that time is money, and anything that we can make the ability, and I know talking to Jimmy a lot from his previous, work as a technician, is that, being there and making sure the data is correct, but making their job easier really is a benefit to IP. So what we did here is currently we had a barcode functionality right at the top where you can scan certain items that have a barcode in it. We went over it, and some of the stuff we noticed is that a technician from that particular screen, for example, when they do scan things, they would have to hit the barcode and then bring it up, scan your item. In this instance, it's an alarm device, and then it would bring up the alarm device. And then actually this portion right here, which is the modal where your barcode scanner lives, would kind of go back down, and the technician would have to hit it again, and the technician would have to hit it again. And, really all those repetitive steps, which, if you have 1,000 devices in a building, that means you're hitting that button 1,000 times. So one of the first things we did here is actually, as soon as you open up and hit that barcode, we've kind of brought in the ideology that you've decided to now you want to scan. So we figure, okay, at that point, you're going to want to continue to scan. So the first thing we did is that as soon as you press that and you scan your device, it pops up your device as expected. And then you make your decision on that particular device. And as that closes, your scanning option is going to remain. So you can go right to your next barcode and scan, right to your next barcode and scan. And this is across, basically everything in Inspect Point that is scannable. So your barcode modal will always live there. So if you're going through and you're doing your extinguishers, your E-lights, your devices, and instead of having to bring it back down, hit it again, you can now accurately move to the next one, enter your device information, you can hit done, and then you go right back to your next, scan it, and right there. So that's just saving those clicks, saving time, and basically getting it, up there as fast as possible without the technician having to go, oh man, I got to hit this again. I got to hit this again. That modal always lives up until you decide that you don't want to see it anymore. And then you just hit the back button at the end at the top left, and that just gets rid of it for you there. So your back button there closes it, but this will stay open until you decide that's not. And this is for any of your scanning equipment that you use. So we have particular customers who just want to use the camera on the iPad or the iPhone. It works there. We have the Terra scanner, which is we just released last year, as functionality with that. So the Terra scanner will work exactly the same, and so will your Socket Mobile. So all three of those devices, whether you choose to use each one of those, will keep this same functionality, and it really saves time there. So that's one of the first changes we did. And with that, we actually, through talking internally and to some customers, was the ability to scan something and then have it automatically pass. So that kind of work coincides with an existing feature in the spec point where we do have some things that default pass. So you can have, the CS team, if you have that enabled, you'll see that, certain items when you schedule them out, they're already defaulted as passed. So that goes through everything on the inspection. In this scenario, if you have your extinguishers defaulted pass, that means all 15 that you see here would be dispatched out and they would be grayed out already. So they've already been passed. And then the technician would have to make the decision to, mark it deficient as they scanned it. We've also added a feature, and this is configurable. So if you'd like this feature on, just right into the CS team and your CSM, and they'll be able to, work with you to get it enabled. And what that does is now you don't have to default everything past anymore. You can we have a different function where now you can come in and it's going to be with a scan or a view, meaning even if you don't use the scanner, these things would all come out and they're not actually passed yet. So they're not inspected. And then if the technician either uses the barcode scanner and scans, it finds the barcode, or they click into it by hitting inspect, that would be the view portion. Then when the modal opens, it actually now passes it. So if you were to scan the first one here at room 2, that would actually open up and then it would pass. And anything that would default to your yes or your pass would be defaulted. And then they would close that one. And if they scan another one, that one would come up. So now we've actually inspected the first 2, but the rest here actually haven't been done yet. So that kind of, after, again, talking internally and, with the CS team and seeing sometimes with everything coming across as defaulted passed, sometimes, again, things happen in life. And sometimes, we want the data to be correct. And if they hadn't gotten to them and they save or send back, the answers would get to the office view as being passed. And the technician's like, I didn't actually do that one yet. But this is just improving that aspect of it to make it where you can still get your ability to default pass. But now it actually is done when you either scan it or the technician clicks into it. So now you know that the reason it is passed is because they made that decision to actually look at it versus everything coming across as passed and then having to make the decision of either making a deficiency, etc. So kind of just 2-in-1, a little double hitter we did here that we put out to just kind of, again, improve the speed and accuracy of everything. And again, configurable. We don't always, we want the customers to, basically use their own workflow however they want. But for these aspects, it's a big improvement to getting the technicians, making their life easier, which is one of our main goals here. And, from talking to Jimmy, like I said, I really value his input when we do features because he's lived a life. I always say that here, like I've never actually, I've gone on ride-alongs and that gives me great experience, but somebody who's actually been out there and is like, hey, this is a big improvement. Or, when I was doing it, this would be better if it actually did this and stayed and the box stayed up. We take that feedback, from our customers and, internally, Jimmy, I call him one of our fire experts because he's really lived that life. So when he tells me that something's going to be a big improvement, I really take it to heart. And I showed him this and, again, got rave reviews. So, it's always good to hear.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, the reality is that when you're a tech and you're in your customer's building, It's a harsh reality, but it's the reality. And anybody who has worked in the industry knows that a lot of times you're seen as an inconvenience to your customer because you're in there doing an inspection for a fire protection system that they have to pay for. And most of your customers don't understand the value that it brings. And a lot of times it's seen as a money pit and all this kind of thing. And when you go do your inspection, the maintenance guy is leading you around, giving you access. And because you're there, he's not, he or she, the maintenance person is not able to do their normal everyday tasks. And so they're inconveniences. So part of our goal, is understanding that reality, because that reality is real for you. That was kind of like a double positive. That reality was real. Is that a double? What would you call that? Redundant. Anyways, that that's a reality for you that your customers unfortunately are inconvenienced by you being there. So the goal on our end is how can we make things as efficient as possible to get you in and get you out, because it makes you happier, because you're not sitting there trying to tap the scan button and it's just not coming up or whatever, you fat thumb it or whatever, and it's not coming up. Anything that we can do to increase efficiency and improve the functionality of it is going to serve you, and it's going to serve your customers. And especially these larger buildings, where you have hundreds or even thousands of devices. If you're a fire alarm tech or an extinguisher tech, and you have thousands of extinguishers or hundreds of extinguishers. We had one customer that had something like 50,000 devices in one building. And so, you look at just tapping that scan icon and one time, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But if you have hundreds of devices and you got big fat thumbs like I do, and you're going through and you're gonna, that does take extra time. And also the other functionality that what John mentioned about how, it doesn't, if you have auto pass devices or auto pass extinguishers or whatever, one of the things that is really great about this is that you use really the white, dark gray, and that pinkish red color as kind of your way of knowing your checklist of what have I inspected and what have I not inspected. And before, when you had auto pass on for your devices, it would just be all the dark gray, and so you couldn't tell what you have inspected and what you haven't inspected. But now that it doesn't answer it until you actually tap into it or scan the barcode for it, now you actually have that checklist to see what do I have yet, what have I and have I not yet inspected, what devices still need to be inspected. Now this is a true checklist for you. So I think that this is going to be helpful for you, so you're not scrolling and looking and what did I inspect and what did I not inspect. It's going to make it more visually, it'll be easier for you visually as well. So
to that point,
yeah.
I kind of want to point out here too, when you're talking about like these massive inspections, like I know we've come across, certain customers do these large buildings where they have certain, multiple things in there. So if we go with, say, some either wet systems, extinguishers, and devices, right? So say alarm systems, and they'd have to go in here, and now you're in your extinguisher group. The previous screen before this, which is what, I refer to as the inspection detail screen, where it has your wet system, and then it says, your fire extinguisher group, and then your alarm systems. There's actually a barcode right at the top of that. So instead of actually clicking into your extinguisher groups or clicking into your wet system and find here, if right on that screen at the top, there's a barcode scanner. So if you're using the scanning functionality and you don't want to say, tap into your wet system, tap into your valves, and then find it and scan it. Right on that listing screen, you can scan a valve and it'll find it right there and it'll open that up for you. Or, vice versa. If you want to scan an extinguisher, you don't always have to go back into those certain, if you're coming from inspecting the wet system and you're going to do an extinguisher, I got to go in this extinguisher group, to kind of like constitute that save time, aspect. Right at that inspection listing screen, it lives there too. And the barcode, if that's, you choose to use it, it'll find whatever individual one you happen to scan, whether it be an extinguisher, alarm device, or like I said, like a valve, it'll find that and bring you right to that information. And from there, if you decide to have this default scanner view on, as soon as you do scan that and it brings you up, they will pass and everything will be answered for you. So I think that's another, aspect here of coming from the actual listing screen is what I refer to it as, and that as opposed to inside the actual, alarm devices or the extinguisher group, or you're in your valves. It kind of gives you basically what we were talking about on our last episode. We want to give the users the ability to take inspect point and kind of use it do the inspection however they feel makes it easiest for them, right? So if they want to go into the extinguisher groups, that's totally cool. Scan from here, and like you said, you can actually see now what you've actually inspected versus the default pass where they all come checked and passed and they have to make that decision. So it's really gives, the user, the technician, the ability to, depending on what building you're in, really to make the decision what makes the easiest path to get the inspection done.
You remember what we talked about in the last episode?
I basically remember everything, Jimmy. Yeah.
That's incredible. I remember we had Vin the Great on, but I don't remember anything else about the last episode.
I always like to, because if you remember what Vin had mentioned, why we're doing certain things in the back office and, on the iPad is a lot to do with the user experience, right? That's kind of what
you're
standing for. So the user experience from the iPad is actually the technician. So, you view it as what makes their life easier and their job faster. And we can't always individualize it to where, assuming that this particular user is in this kind of building, so we want to be able to put that barcode kind of wherever they think it would be best fit, to use it from, as opposed to having to tap into the valves or tap in the extinguisher group. They also can freely use it from the inspection detail screen, however, the user feels best for them.
So
well, you impress me.
One thing I just wanted to clarify, because it seems to be coming up in the question. So just to clarify, the auto pass and these scanning functions, there's a difference here. So if your current account, like if your setup, when the technician opens up the device list or extinguisher list, if it's currently the way it's set up right now, if it is all gray, that means that you have auto pass enabled, meaning when I tap into it, all of these devices on my screen here. So if I click, for example, I'm just going to come here. So if all of these devices were gray, like the top two, that means you have auto pass. This new setup there. So not the scan camera staying on, that's automatic. The option where if I scan something, then it auto passes, that is a flag that needs to be enabled. So just an FYI, that's not automatic. Even if you have auto pass, it's not. So something to note on my screen here, what you can see. So this video, I have it. So let me just play it here. So the way that this functions here, let me start from the beginning. So right now, just to point out, all of these are white, meaning none of them are passed. What I'm doing in this video is I'm going to scan an extinguisher in this case. Once it pops up, I scan here. The device pops up for me. So without me doing anything, by that popping up right now, that one particular extinguisher or device is now set to pass. So I don't have to scroll down and answer the question or questions. It's already done for me. So when I hit done, here, one thing to note, my camera stayed on. I didn't have to click the device list again or the scan again. Then I scan my next extinguisher and then it pops right up for me. So when I hit done to show here, those two devices were inspected. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not automatic. Your devices won't automatically be set to auto pass if you don't want the text to, and it is a flag. So I just wanted to clear that up here. because somebody did ask about how do I make a device auto pass and what devices can I auto pass. You'll reach out to your CSM if you want auto pass enabled. You can auto pass alarm devices, and that's that question pass fail. There's also an option to auto pass exit signs and equipment and extinguishers. It's that, does this extinguisher pass yes, no, NA question. So just wanted to point that out. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no, that, again, Brett, like, yeah, the clarification is key here. Like I said, we kind of did 2 in 1 here, but the second portion, like you said, of the default scan or view, that is configurable, and that's not automatically turned on for anyone. IP doesn't really like to make, you know, assumptions like that. So like Britt said, if you reach out to your CSM, they would be able to, this particular portion right here, they would be able to enable that for you.
And so just for time's sake, I want to move on to the next question or the next topic. One thing I do just want to mention, there was one more. If your camera isn't staying on when we scan, that means you need to update your app. So just say that there. So I'm going to move on to the next topic. We have some questions, but just kind of group them all together here. So the next topic is going to be deficiency review improvements. So I am going to also kick this one off to John.
Yeah, so kind of going back to our first one, another long time thing that we've heard is for some particular systems, assets, devices, I know extinguishers was a big one. The kind of, I don't really want to say lack of information that was provided, but in the details of the deficiency, noting in the back office which particular one, if it's an extinguisher, you know, the section, you know, the type, or if it was an alarm device, you would see kind of a concatenation of numbers and letters, but there was never really like to let you know exactly what that particular information meant. So taking that in, we actually went through and for everything in the back office, now this is called our V2. It is not automatically turned on. When we put these new things out, we do like, again, give the user the ability to toggle on and off. So that exists right on your deficiency listing screen. Right at the top, you'll see a toggle. So if you toggle that on, you can kind of see the differences between the way it previously was and what we've done now. So we actually redid this whole screen here. So if Britt toggles that off, we can kind of show we came from this here. So right now, this is just your standard listing screen where nothing's configurable. You get the columns that IP had kind of decided to make here. And then you get these filters that IP kind of said, hey, these are the ones that, you know, are available for you to kind of, you know, go down, filter out what's resolved, what's not resolved, etc. And then you can kind of see here in some of this here, you can kind of tell, like right now where it says audible, you know, that's actually an alarm deficiency, right? Isolation modules, those are little questions that are on our alarm section, right? Does the fire extinguisher pass inspection? But it's not actually denoting which one or what area, etc. Now, if Britt toggles that on, you'll see now for the same ones in our details column now, we've actually done a couple different things here. To the left of that, it actually notes where it is. It's an alarm system. It tells you the system asset type, it's an alarm system. And then it actually adds in your system name. The reason we did that is because obviously there can be multiple alarm systems on an inspection, right? Now, previously you would have just, if that audible or, you know, alarm device was, you know, deficient 3 different ones, it kind of didn't give you the best information of where it came from, what alarm system. So now it tells you it is an alarm system, and then it actually gives that alarm system name, what the question was, and if there's an answer. So this tells you exactly, you know, from a glance, all right, this deficiency came from this particular one at this and extinguishers. We kind of grabbed all the information possible. Right, we told you it's a fire, the name of the extinguishers, the manufacturer, the weight. So what it does here, it's going to grab anything, any information that's provided, it'll actually fill out here and let you know. So the more information, again, I'm a big data guy. So the more information you have kind of lets you make your decisions faster. So it lets you know exactly where this one came from. right on your inspection. So there's no more guessing, oh man, where did this come from? I'm not sure, there's a couple extinguisher groups on here. There's a couple alarm systems, what area did this come from? It lets you know right here, this one is from here. It gives you your notes. And then actually, Britt, if you scroll up to the top, kind of denoting where we came from last time, you had no configuration. You were stuck with the columns IP gave you, and that was it, right? So now, just like on our inspection listing screen, our now report screen, we kind of moved towards this to give the user the ability to see the columns that they think they need. Again, we don't really want to make the decisions. If you don't want all these columns, you can just pop up what's there. And this is the information that you need. This is what you can make that decision. So we added also this photos column. So it lets you know if there's a photo attached to this deficiency, it'll tell you how many, and you can actually click on that. It'll open it and give you everything you need there. So that'll give you your number of photos. And just to note here, as Brittany opened up with your little ellipsis here, now you should be, so on your ellipsis, now that's something that we're introducing at the end of an action bar here. It kind of replaces the action bar that you saw previously. You have the same options, but now it kind of makes the user less clicks, etc. So I do want to note this here. So if you, from this, so when you click resolve here, Brett, we can kind of take you down this road too, just so there's no confusion, so to speak. So we resolved it here. So now following Vin's explanation last week of kind of certain UX designs that were made, when you open this modal, it's assuming that the user has already made the decision to resolve this, right? So we're going to kind of show you how it looks now versus how it did look. So now it's like, all right, the user has made this decision to confirm. So that's why you see now confirm to resolve. The action has been made that they want to resolve this. So now you see the resolution status, and you can add your resolution notes. So we did remove some stuff from here that kind of we had heard over the years that the users were like, well, why is this here, right? So that's what that one looks like. So Britt, if you untoggle this one, and now you'll see at all the way to the right here, you have these action buttons. So that red one was what previously was used to resolve, right? Now, when you open this, you have to make another decision to resolve. There's your deficiency status, your resolution status, and your resolution notes. So what we kind of did here was, make it easier to be like, all right, you've already clicked this button. So you made the decision to resolve it. You don't need to click that button again to say, hey, resolve it, right? Because that actually brings in more chances of user error. Clicking out of the box, maybe they hit resolve here, but then they didn't check that little box to resolve it. So the user may have thought they resolved it because it kind of looks like that. But if they don't actually click that little button that says resolved, then it actually, doesn't resolve the deficiency. So kind of little things like that we wanted to make it easier for the user to use the product, especially now in the back office where they're actually handling all this kind of, data, information, getting stuff ready for proposals, etc. So if we toggle that back over, Britt, to take you through the rest of this screen. So right at your top here, you'll see the filter is resolved, right? So right now it's kind of, and then when you click on that, you're seeing yes, no. So right now, it's actually showing you all your deficiencies. Okay, so previously there was only the two options. There was resolve no, which it defaulted to, and then you resolved yes. So you actually didn't see all your deficiencies at once. On this screen now, you'll have your listing of all your deficiencies, and then you can make, do I want to see just the resolved ones? Then yes, then no. And actually, there is a column in here that lets you know when you get to that first screen that is resolved yes or no. So that actually lets you know when you first come up that everything's here. Is it resolved, yes or no? And then it will actually, kind of tell you that right there. So that's another step that we tried to make it easier for the users to see all their information and then can make, do I want to see just the resolved ones? Yes or no. And basically all through here, same thing at the top with your filters. This is going to work the same way as kind of the other screens where you can actually pick which ones you want to see, add more, add less, really get down to the information as opposed to the older view of the drop downs at the top. It still works the same way. If you want to just, see deficiencies related to a specific system or asset, you can filter those right down. But it's more of just, again, getting the user more information, more of their data in a faster and efficient way, and then giving them the option to go ahead and customize it to really the screen they want to see. So again, as Brittany's doing here, this actually goes, as soon as we toggle this on, you'll get this same information across the back office on your work orders and on your inspections, and the flow here will be the same. So this extinguisher that you see here, you can figure out exactly where it came from, the ID number, everything that you need is here, as opposed to the older way where you didn't really get as much information as you required. Again, I like to say that, working closely with Jimmy on certain things here tells me that, all right, this isn't enough. These guys need more. What can we get them? We went in the lab and we're like, all right, we can get them some stuff. We'll get them the information they need. And we want to let you know that this is actually right out in production. And again, it's not defaulted on yet. If you want to just, turn it on, it's right that toggle at the top of your screen, toggle it on, and you can kind of see for yourself the changes versus the information that was there versus what's here now.
Yeah, I think just to kind of go full circle with kind of everything we've talked about today. The first one, which was about moving the inspection series, really is going to help schedulers on the back end. The barcode scanning is going to help technicians in the field. And this one is really going to help estimators in the back end. And I know, reviewing inspections and working closely with deficiency estimators, you would look at your deficiencies, and I remember so many times reviewing inspections in the back end and seeing a valve for a sprinkler system, and all it would show is the stairwell C east wing. It would show the location. It wouldn't show you the size of the valve. It wouldn't show you the type of valve or the manufacturer or anything like that. It would just give you the location. And so estimators have to review the reported deficiency and the information that's there, but then they have to go search for which valve is this. I know the location, but the location doesn't really tell me what it is. It just tells me where it's at. And so what is the size? What is, what's the manufacturer? What's the what type of valve is it? The same thing goes with the alarm deficiencies, where you have alarm devices. I think especially, is this a smoke, or is this a heat, or is this a pull station, or what is this, and what is the model and the make? And before you had to consult the reported deficiencies table, but then you had to consult the basically copy and paste the location into the device list or to the valve list to find out what exactly is this thing that I'm looking to quote. And so you're having to consult all these different pages, and I know a lot of estimators will use the inspection reports, because the inspection reports, if you know where to look, you can find that additional information. And so it may just take 3 or 4 minutes per deficiency to find the relevant information to provide an accurate quote. But when you have hundreds of deficiencies, and hundreds is not a gross overestimate, it's not hyperbole, hundreds or dozens or hundreds of deficiencies coming in every day, you don't, 100 times 3 or 4 minutes to do a little bit of research to make sure that you're getting accurate information to provide an accurate quote adds up very quickly. And so now the estimators are just going to be able to come. They're not going to have to do any research for additional information, because all the relevant information to provide a quote is right there. You just look in one spot. You're not looking at valve tables and device lists and or on the inspection report. It's just all right there. And so there's no, and we know that quotes, that gets, the faster you send out the quote after the inspection, the higher the likelihood that your customer is going to accept that quote. The longer you wait, the lower your chance gets that the customer is going to accept that quote. And so this is going to speed, instead of spending your time doing the research to make sure you're quoting the right thing, you're spending your time generating more quotes. So that way you can generate more income and keep your techs busy and get to that big dollar sign at the end of the line. So I think this is going to be really helpful, especially for estimators to really get that information that they need to just spit those quotes out as quickly as possible.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, and nice job landing the plane there, Jimmy. Just I want to just point out one thing here. You even just said it, just so we can see back like side by side. This is the same deficiency. So all of this information, location, manufacturer, as this one.
Right.
That's the same deficiency, which is, so.
Yeah.
So toggle that on. Go right
Yes.
now to deficiencies, go to the top right hand corner, toggle that on. You are going to be, especially if you're an estimator or if you're somebody who reviews inspections, toggle that on. It's going to save you a lot of time.
Like
Yeah.
just that little toggle comparison there that Brittany ran, like
Yeah.
you guys will see it yourselves in your tenant. Like it really does change everything again, everything you need, and then you can just customize it to however you really want to see it.
Absolutely. And so just before there's a couple of questions, but I just wanted to point this out. You can scan that barcode or that QR code, and it's going to bring you to the link. I also shared the link in the chat. But if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review on that link there. So let me just take a look. There are some questions that don't really go with the topics today, which is oh, somebody said the QR code doesn't work. There's a link in the chat. I can repost that. We'll chat with marketing about the QR code there. For the
Is
question,
anybody in the chat clamoring to get Vin back on?
I haven't seen any requests for Vin, but that doesn't mean we're not
I liked it when
thinking
Vin was
it.
on. He was a good guest.
We'll get more guests. We'll get more guests.
Yeah.
So, for the questions that don't really go with this, just something to note, we get these and we'll reach out to your CSM to coordinate some answers for you. There's just a couple that I wanted to just because they don't not too in depth. I just wanted to touch on a couple. Somebody mentioned that one of the texts says, let's see, that they're having an issue with the barcode needing to be on a record before the inspection. Does anybody?
Yeah, you have to associate the barcode with the device before you can look it up with the main barcode icon outside of the individual device. I think that's probably what they're referring to.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so you have to scan it to actually put it into inspect point for inspect point to be able to recognize it.
Yeah, so you just go to the individual device, scan it in the first time. You have to do it within the device. Then that associates that barcode with that device. And then any subsequent time you go back, you don't have to go into that individual device. You can just use the barcode icon either out in the main inspection screen with all your systems, or by going into that, into your alarm system, whatever, and using that barcode icon.
Yes, perfect. Let's see here. Just want to take a look at a couple, and just as a little reminder, if you're not if the text camera is not staying on, or for example, if you don't see that deficiency screen, the tech needs to update the app. You have to enable that preview on the deficiency page. So just little things like that. I know sometimes that could be overlooked. I think that might be all of the questions that go with the conversation that we had here. So as always, like I mentioned earlier, this was recorded. So we have that. And we have these questions here, so we'll coordinate with CSMs just to get any info. If you have any questions too, you know where to find all of us. You have your CSMs if you have product support questions. And then if you like these, we have one once a month, that registration link that you used to sign up for this particular webinar or show, as we like to call it, that you can register for the other ones in the future. We mostly have them on the second Thursday of every month. So keep your eyes peeled for that. The information's always in the newsletter. So
Brett, like, again, like we kind of discuss internally about on what to, discuss on these shows. But, we take recommendations, if people want to
Mhm.
write, ask questions, what features would people be, interested in learning about?
Yeah, absolutely. We rely on you.
Right.
Perfect.
I rely on Jim, you know,
We all rely on Jimmy.
don't get a big head.
I don't, yeah,
Cool.
because I rely on you guys.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Aw, that's what we do when we say that.
Someone
We should
mentioned
see
the
what
mail.
kind of a new guest we can get on, like Brett Favre.
If you are ambitious with that one.
Defaulted to-
Yeah,
We're gonna have to talk about where that idea came from. I'm interested.
I don't know. It was just random, but
Anybody,
Maybe we can.
does he do a lot of fire inspections?
we can't say he doesn't. I mean, could you say that you know for sure that he doesn't?
Jimmy, I'm about 99% sure about that one, but
That's not 100.
run the numbers.
Cool. Alrighty, everybody. You guys have a great day. We will happy Thanksgiving and we'll chat with you soon. So have a great day.
Thank you.
Have a good one.